Tonight on the Scrapple Report, we take a special look at the abandoned Divine Lorraine Hotel and name a brand new piggy of the week. But first, here's the news.
What's up? Yo, yo, yo. Yo, yo, yo. What's up with this internet crap?
Hello. From high atop the Scrapple News Towers in downtown Philadelphia, IA, I'm AP Ticker, and this is 5 minutes of your life you'll never get back. Never get back. Never. We begin in Iraq, where the U.S. installed government is under attack from fundamentalist rebels. In response, President Obama is sending 300 non-combat military advisors into Iraq this week.
We will help Iraqis as they take the fight to terrorists who threaten the Iraqi people, the region, and American interests as well.
Because those who can't do, teach.
American forces will not be returning to combat in Iraq.
Reports are coming in that Iraq soldiers have abandoned their uniforms and gone home.
Get the fuck out of here.
Sounds like we've already learned them everything we know. Maybe those fellows just need some drone power.
I have 2 words for you: Predator drones. You will never see it coming.
Like the kind we now have here at home.
You think I'm joking?
The newest model of unmanned death robots will disperse crowds by crop dusting them with pepper spray.
The device, supposedly equipped with 4 pepper ball spraying guns, can allegedly shoot 80 doses of pepper balls per second. And allegedly, the device can be equipped with blinding lasers.
Condiments? How about if drones dropped a steak and fries once in a while? Just be sure you always eat 100% U.S. grade A beef. Unlike the residents in one Austin community, customers of a local supermarket allege they were sold mislabeled cow penis. Management apologized for not clearly explaining the sale on spicy sausages. Speaking of acquired German tastes, a former Nazi concentration camp guard was arrested in North Philadelphia last week. "We're shocked," said a remorseful family member. "We thought he was just a regular racist like everyone else in Philly." Philly's always had an inferiority complex, but now we can say proudly we're in the top 5 when it comes to the most corrupt states in America. Our neighbors in the Dirty Jers only made it to 20th. Maybe that's why Christie keeps making appearances with Tom Corbett. It's not a campaign, it's an apprenticeship. We here at Scrapple TV would like to salute the work of local activists who lobbied City Council to decriminalize marijuana in Philadelphia. Possession of less than an ounce is punishable by just a $25 fine. So it's time to celebrate. Smoke 'em if you got 'em, boys. Free at last. Free at last.
They decriminalized marijuana yesterday in Philadelphia. How do you feel about that as an officer? Charles Ramsey came out and he said that he was going to make you guys enforce it as a misdemeanor. How do you feel about it personally?
I wish I had the freedom of speech.
Yeah, so you're with me.
Finally, Americans everywhere are in the throes of World Cup fever. Brothers, sisters, join hands and pretend to understand how penalty minutes work.
Gayla was trying to save her money up to get to Brazil, couldn't make the trip. But what about this?
Awesome. I didn't know this many people in Iowa love soccer like I did. It was an awesome turnout here at Keg Day. I'm losing my voice.
Even if you find the game tedious, but find it amusing watching Americans pretend to like the game, I say forget it. Kick back with a refreshing Kensinger beer from the fine folks at the Philadelphia Brewing Company. So crisp and refreshing, it'll shame any Bavarian brew, because it tastes like America. Well, that's it for Scrapple News. I remain AP Ticker, beef penis magnet and marijuana scofflaw.
Welcome to Scrapple TV.
Cop Troll Attempt 2. Sir, how did you pick your costume for today?
It's not a costume.
Oh, you're a Philadelphia police officer.
Yeah. Oh, man. Sorry to disappoint you.
Did you they decriminalized marijuana yesterday in Philadelphia? How do you feel about that as an officer? Charles Ramsey came out and he said that he was going to make you guys enforce it as a misdemeanor. How do you feel about it personally?
I wish I had the freedom of speech.
So you're with me.
We don't have freedom
So we're going to be fighting Ramsey on it. Actually, I'm a part of the marijuana lobby in Philadelphia. He still wants to charge a misdemeanor. We have a $25 fine. Then you guys can go out and you can do better work, you know?
I wish I had freedom of speech.
All right, well, that is a great costume.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The Divine Lorraine Hotel is an old beauty rotting away on North Broad Street. Since being abandoned to the elements in 2001, graffiti artists and urban spelunkers have laid claim to the decaying building. Sean Annabelle reports on one such adventurer who got more than he bargained for.
I have a lot of dreams where I'm falling or I see my friends falling through a hole. But even to date, I still don't know how to handle it. I just woke up and was told I fell over 60 feet. April 6th, 2010, it was a Tuesday, and me and a bunch of friends were drinking outside of one of the dorms at Temple. We were real bored, and the idea came up to go explore the Divine Lorraine. We were ill-equipped with flashlights, probably had 1.5 combined. We pretty much were just wandering around. Everything was going fine like it always had been. And we made it up floor after floor, and when we got to the 5th floor, I started spray painting a rather large piece. I wasn't paying attention, and as I was sidestepping, I stepped into an abandoned dumbwaiter shaft. I fell all 5 stories to the ground floor and landed on broken glass. I broke both my femurs horizontally. My left femur came out of my thigh. I have scars on my face and knees from the shattered glass. I also broke my nose, and now I have 2 titanium rods in both legs. And the first prognosis was that I wouldn't be able to walk again for up to 2 years. After getting discharged from the hospital in 2 weeks, I got to go home. And I started physical therapy, and after a week, I left my wheelchair and was in a walker. After a week of the walker, I moved to a cane. After 4 days of a cane, I started to walk on my own again.
Caryn Kunkle has a plan to fix up the Divine Lorraine Hotel and turn it into a modern art museum. The only problem is that she doesn't own the old building, and the people who do don't care. Philadelphia Weekly and Scrapple TV join forces to explore the future of the divine Lorraine.
My name's Caryn Kunkle. I was a firefighter at Roslyn Fire Station for 5 years, and I'm here to talk to you today about how you can save the divine Lorraine in 30 seconds and why you should do that.
Someday we'll get paid for this.
The Divine Lorraine is an amazing piece of Philadelphia history. It was built in 1892 by an architect named William G. Hale. It was a luxury hotel when it was built. It was basically the place where all the railroad barons went to go and hang out. It was like the Four Seasons of Philadelphia right on North Broad Street, you know, horse and buggy time, big silk dresses, hats, gloves, you know, crystal dining for a Tuesday night. It was great. Actually, I think it was 1939, this African-American dude named Father Divine, who was a Bible salesman and a kind of radical type of preacher, walked into the Lorraine Hotel and said, can I get a cup of coffee and a place to stay? And they said, no way, you're black, are you kidding me? So he didn't really like that, came back the next day with a suitcase with $400,000 cash in it and bought the place and said, how about now? And what that did is it provided Philadelphia with a really unique turning point in history. So this dude got married to a young lady who's white. He's African American. They started really promoting the peace mission movement, which was their shtick. Their message was pretty simple, you know, no mixing of the sexes, no profanity, you have to be dressed nice, you have to be courteous to each other, and it doesn't matter if you're rich, poor, black, white, green, whatever, you can stay here for low cost. We'll provide you very, very high quality place to stay and service, and it's just for everybody. And that was like the most radical thing ever. I mean, people didn't do that. So it's had a really storied, you know, history. It's just been passed from developer to developer again. It's back in the hands of one of the developers who owned it before. If you're gonna put electricity and drywall and you know, individual rooms and sprinkler systems and alarm systems throughout everything, each individual room, is just not cost effective. So each developer that's had a chance with the building has decided to kind of pass on doing anything with the actual Divine Lorraine. It catches on fire an average of 12 times a year. Just a couple years ago, a kid fell through the floor and did some serious damage to himself, a graffiti artist. 12 times a year, you are sending a crew of professional grown men and women who have trained their butts off every day, carrying all this weight up there as teams every single time that happens. That neighborhood right now is slated as the 6th most violent neighborhood in America. It's just so important to not just gentrify a neighborhood, but to incorporate the people who live there and have lived there for a long time by building a museum of contemporary art that is specifically interactive, that you can address all of the problems that the Divine Lorraine put an end to, the danger and the misappropriation of the property that's been going on for the last 20 years. And you can also unite the neighborhood. You can bring the artists and the musicians and the folks who have lived there since the 1800s and the folks who, you know, came in the 40s and really started the Motown movement. As some of the fantastic contemporary art movements that we have going on today, like the mural arts program happening in the neighborhood. You can combine all of those things and really do justice to the history of the building. And we started kind of getting a temperature gauge on, hey, would Philadelphia be ready for a museum of contemporary art? What can we do to make these resources interact a little bit better? What can we do to make philanthropy a little bit more sustainable? What can we do to make sure that all these great organizations that have come about since the economic downturn can continue into the future? And right now, the art market brings more revenue to the city of Philadelphia than sports, medicine, or retail. That's drastic. So if that art market bursts, that's a huge impact to the city. So what we really need is a kind of a stadium for the arts in Philadelphia to celebrate all the great things that we do and have. And that's not a small idea, that's a big idea. And a big idea like that needs to be tied into the other big ideas that we already have. So what strengths do we have in our tourism market now? Well, We have something called the Museum Mile from City Hall down the Parkway through Love Park to the PMA. It's literally 1 mile, and you can, walk from City Hall and hit up the Barnes Museum. You can go to the Franklin Institute. You can see the Rodin Museum. Or, just a crazy idea, you could turn the Divine Lorraine into a museum of contemporary art, and bam. In one chess move, you instantly connect City Hall to Temple. You concrete the Avenue of the Arts. You make Avenue of the Arts North a contemporary campus for the arts, just like Avenue of the Arts South is a campus for theater and the performing arts. And you have something called the Museum Triangle. So the Museum Triangle would extend from the Divine Lorraine down Fairmount, and you can hit up the Mural Arts Program and Eastern State Penitentiary right there on Fairmount. When you get to the end of Fairmount, you can go to the Perlman, and then you can hop across the street and go to the PMA, go back up the Parkway to City Hall, and then when you come back down North Broad Street from City Hall, you can hit up the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Arts. You can go to the Mason Temple right there. You can go to the Convention Center, the Museum Triangle, I would call it, and really concretes the city's best resources in one walkable area, and it just would do fantastic things for the tourism market. So we decided to call this initiative the Return of the Beautiful because it's a return of two great things that have been in the neighborhood already, which is the Divine Lorraine as something that functioned for the peace mission movement. They really brought a lot of peace, love, and harmony and brotherly love back into the city. I think that you can combine all of the history that the building and the neighborhood has had and make it beautiful once again. There's no reason it has to be the sixth most violent neighborhood in America.
Someday we'll get paid for this.
It's time for Piggy of the Week. Well, the week started out with a bang in Las Vegas. Several of them, as a matter of fact, as Jared Miller and his wife Amanda murdered 2 cops and a civilian at a Walmart. They draped the dead cops' bodies in a "Don't Tread on Me" flag and stole their guns and badges before turning their guns on themselves. It soon came out that Mr. and Mrs. Miller had left behind quite the trail on social media, with Facebook posts and videos on YouTube declaring their hatred for the government and willingness to commit violence.
All your warmongering is just driving me to the point where I want to be president. I want to be the warmonger, not just some terrorist, not some just everyday terrorist, domestic terrorist want to blow shit up all the time, no.
They also showed up at a Cliven Bundy's standoff with the feds.
I feel sorry for any federal agents that want to come in here and try to push us around or anything like that. I really don't want violence toward them, but if they're gonna come bring violence to us, well, if that's the language they want to speak, we'll learn it.
Now, you might think I'd be naming the gun-toting, militia-minded, big government-hating Millers as my Piggy of the Week, especially after a month of mass murders from the spoiled brat in Santa Barbara to the Seattle College shooting, to the lockdown at Community College of Philadelphia, to the lockdown at Abington College. And indeed, they are a couple of selfish little piggies. But outside of Vegas, the story has received very little coverage. Nothing at the New York Times or the Washington Post. Barely a mention at CBS, NBC, or ABC. Last we checked, CNN was still looking for that plane.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Now, maybe that's because mass shootings are becoming common. But that didn't stop any of these outlets from agonizing for days over Elliot Rodger, or from covering the shootings in Seattle, which could have been worse were it not for a student armed with pepper spray. It's not so much a media blackout as it is a media whiteout. Because let's face it, if the Millers were brown and yelling, Allah Akbar, you'd be seeing the word terrorism plastered everywhere. So, congratulations to the so-called liberal media for minimizing the threat of right-wing domestic terrorists in the United States. You are our Piggy of the Week. I'm A.P. Ticker, and love me, love me, love me, love me. I'm a liberal.